last week on June 28th, I did a major testing piece for me. The gym votes on a workout every week that Mikey and I have to do. They voted on Karen for some reason unbeknownst to me and to everybody that knows me. But so with that, I decided to make it into a day on a Wednesday. I was going to make Karen a good tester. Pretty good at Karen. I don't feel like I can go that much faster on it, especially the shape that I'm in now. So I incorporated Karen into the back end of a testing workout that I did based on a goal that I had for quarter two for the year, which was to do Helen in 8 minutes and 27 seconds, because that's 1 second faster than Dan, who has the top score on the board. Spoiler, I didn't beat Dan. But this is what my testing day looked like. The big question is, what's a testing day? There are 3 different ways to train as we look at it. There's practice days, training days, and testing days. Practice days are developing skills, low heart rate, generally chilled out. People do this all the time with Olympic lifting. When we do an Oli day in the gym, the majority of people stay light. They focus on how they're executing the movements. Their heart rate doesn't get very high. The weights don't get very heavy. Everything stays very consistent and very rhythmic almost. In my opinion, for most people, especially at the higher levels, but at the beginning levels and then at the higher levels, more time should be spent on practice than almost anything else. The next style of training or the next type of training is actual training, which is the refinement of skills. You start to get heavier loads, you start to get higher heart rates. Now you're starting to push it a little bit, but with a little bit of still a focus on, all right, I need to do this, but I need to still do it perfectly. That and training should take up probably the next 40% of your training volume. So you have 50% of your time as practice, making your skills as perfect as possible, and then you have your training days, which make your skills better at higher heart rates. You're going a little faster. Then you have your testing days. If you're doing it right and you have like a very systematic idea behind this, your testing or competing days should be maybe 10% of what you make up. So if you think about it from like a sports standpoint, like the NFL is a great example. How often do they actually test? 16 games a year. If you make the playoffs, you get 4 more. If you win the Super Bowl, you get 4 more. So out of 52 weeks in a year, they're only testing for 20 days. And even then, they still take games off. So if you're looking at it from that standpoint, your testing days should be pretty minimal compared to your training and practice days. So, but that being said, they still have a lot of efficacy because you can figure out where you're at and you can actually see what you're capable of. You can refine things. You can understand yourself and where you are coming from better when you do testing days. So you need to be able to do them. I put this day together for myself just kind of to say, like, this is what I did and this is how I approach it. So from that standpoint, it becomes a lot different. There were no like A, B's, and C's or D's in my training plan for the day. It was Helen, Karen, that's it. When you're doing a true testing day, there's not multiple levels of stuff. It's one workout, and your goal is to maximize that workout or that thing. If you do a sport, mixed martial arts is my sport, and at Warriors Cove where I go to, we do review every month. And if you go to review, you're testing, and it's a brutal day. It's 4 15-minute matches. It's really hard. So that becomes your tester. So my goal that day is to be able to go as maximally hard for 4 15-minute matches. If I can't make it through my 5th 15-minute match, it doesn't matter because I don't need to, right? I need to make it through 4 of them. So I plan for that, and I'm hitting that. If I fail in the 5th one by some weird reason, I don't care. Same thing here. Helen requires me to do 36 pull-ups. If I fail my 37th pull-up, I don't care. I want to go so hard that I actually fail that 37th pull-up. That's pretty hard to do to unlock that, but that's the idea. So setting this up, you have to structure that day around warm up and then that tester. And I would say for most things when it comes to this, when you go into testing, you need to look at it from the standpoint of everything revolves around that test. So I'm just going to give the examples. This is what I did. I'll try to make it as global as possible, but all of this stuff, all this stuff is going to be pertaining to me, and then we'll see if we can take it back at the end. But so on the 27th of June, I got like 5 hours of sleep, which I had this planned out. I had kind of built my Wednesday around it for last week. So I was like, all right, I got to the gym. I was working for a couple hours before I started getting into that, and I needed just to be down. For me, I'm big into breathing and meditation and things like that. So I spent 10 minutes just with music on, breathing pranayama style. So yoga breathing, 5-second inhale, 5-second breath hold, 10-second exhale, 5-second hold for 10 minutes. Just laying on my back, listening to music, chilling out. 10 minutes of apnea breathing followed that. After getting up and grabbing water and things like that, I sat back down. 5-second inhale, 20-second breath hold, 10-second exhale. I wanted to get my body as low as I possibly could. I wanted my parasympathetic system to be able to kind of clear the stress and clear the mechanism in my own head so that I could get into it. From there, the little stuff that I did, I take push pre-workout, which is Stronger, Faster, Healthier is pre-workout. I grab that, I sip on that during my warm-up. I always do that. So I did that. And I started my actual general warm up. So I still want it now that my body is really low. I need to slowly bring it back up. I don't want to dump any adrenaline into it because that's going to actually fry me out. So general warm up was 5 minutes of animal movements. If you're familiar with Ido Portal, GMB Fitness, or Gymnastics Bodies, they all have some animal movement pieces. So 5 minutes of animal movements, focusing on just crawling. I really like Ido's stuff, so I try to base it on that. What I would normally do in a normal day after my general warm-up is I start to get into handstand practice and I start to get into some tumbling practice that I've been working on. It's not a training day though, it's a testing day, so I'm going to forego all of that and I go straight into movement prep. With Helen, there's a running component that I'm not very good at. So I spent 5 minutes, it might have been a little bit more, but I try to keep it to about 5 minutes, doing pose running practice. So just in the gym, focusing on the drills that benefit me the most. Been working on those for a few years, so getting into those and just kind of slowly picking up the pace. I'm still trying to rev up. I got done with that. I go and I get this testing, so I'm going to grab my favorite kettlebell. I'm going to clean off the pull-up bar. I'm going to set up the equipment the way I want it to be set up. Okay? Maximizing everything. And then I'm going to put that to practice on a small level. So once you get through movement prep, I went into my specific warm-up. I did a couple rounds. My first round was just a 100-meter run, 8 kettlebell swings, and 5 pull-ups, 3 pull-ups in the first round. And it was just hitting it, moving, making sure the bell's in the right spot, making sure how do I put it down, how do I get onto the pull-up bar, right? It's a little ridiculous, but that's what I'm trying to do in a testing day. Then I did it with a 200-meter run. I touched the 200-meter run piece twice with a little bit of rest in between just to do it. From there, everything's all set up. My body's pretty good, but that little bit put enough fatigue into my system that I needed to clear. So I started a clock. I started reorganizing things. I sat down and I did 3 minutes of Wim Hof style breathing. So it's a super ventilation style of breathing. Wim stuff is really cool. It gets you to the point that your hands tingle and your feet are cold and it's really odd, but you feel very jazzed, and that's what I wanted to feel. I wanted to be on, big time for that one. So 3 minutes of Wim Hof style breathing. That got me to about 3 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock that I was using. I was going to start at 5 minutes. So from there, I grabbed Tico, put him in the truck because I don't want him running after me. I don't want anything to get in my way. So from there, at 5 minutes on the clock, I started Helen. It was the fastest Helen time that I've done in our gym, and from a rhythm and pacing standpoint, our 400-meter course is super weird with turns and turnarounds and stuff like that, so it's a little bit slow. I also think it's a little long, but my Helen time was the fastest Helen time I've had since Okinawa. So, and in Oki it was straight shot out, straight shot back, I did it head-to-head with a good buddy of mine to go sub 8, but for here it was a 30-second PR on the course that we have, which is awesome. Awesome for me. 2 seconds off of the goal that I had. Whatever. A 30-second PR I can't be that upset about. Dan can take Helen for now. So from there, I had the plan that I was going to rest about 30 minutes from the time I finished Helen. So I look up at the clock and I was like, I'm going to let the clock run until 45 minutes. That gives me about 32, 31 minutes to get myself down, stretched out, and back up for Karen. How I did that, 15 minutes of relaxation. First thing I did, aside from talking a little shit to Dan on text messages and stuff like that, was I lay down and I just started breathing, chilling out, letting everything relax, letting my hands relax. I wanted to feel some of the stress leave my body. 15 minutes, chilled out, listened to music, everything else. From there, I went into 5 minutes. I still need to get lower. I tried to do 5-10-5 on pranayama stuff. No way, not possible. My body was too jazzed up. So I brought it down to 3-3-6-3, which is really short for me. By the end of it was actually almost a little frustrating, but I just needed my body to come down. I did that for 5 minutes, just sitting down. From there, that gets me 20 minutes. I have 10 minutes left. Movement prep, squat stretching. My friend Chad Walding on Facebook put up a video a couple weeks ago, probably a month ago at this point, of like his mobility piece for squatting and stuff, and I love it. I've been using it in classes for anybody that's been to like the noon class when we've squatted. It's one of my favorites. So I spent probably like 3 or 4 minutes hitting that, stretching out, getting everything moving. Brought my wall ball out, get my camera set up so I can talk some shit to Colin, and then did my specific warm up. I am warm at this point. There's no real need to bring myself up. There's no general warm up required. Everything else is basically work towards that. And I'm pretty good at wall ball. So I just touched a couple sets at 8 wall ball. Nothing super crazy, focusing on the rhythm of it, letting go of it, where's it gonna touch, all that fun stuff, making sure that everything's set up. Once it was there, I had 3 minutes left on the clock. As I finished my second round of wall ball, I sat down and I did 2 minutes of Wim Hof style breathing again, getting myself up regulated, my hands starting to tingle just a little bit. It wasn't nearly as jazzy as the first time, but I didn't have the capacity to sit there for 5 minutes. So from there, they gave me 1 minute on the clock, got everything all set up, started my clock, started my my phone, and then I hit Karen. 5 minutes and 47 seconds, 23 seconds off my PR, not too bad, especially considering the amount of training I've been doing with regard to things like Karen and Helen recently, and doing it after Helen. So, and the last time I did it was in a class like 6 months ago, and I was 5 seconds slower than this one. So, so that's an example of kind of how to approach testing. It's a big example. This took me an hour and a half, top to bottom. Okay, so if you don't have that amount of time, you got to find places that you can cut things in and out. You know, pull things away. Maybe insert things that work for you or not. For me, the parts that I would never remove, depending on where I am and how I'm feeling, is I don't want to remove any of the breathing work. So in an actual testing day, I can get more understanding of where I'm at from breathing than almost anything else. So if I'm gonna hop on a rower and pull for a little bit and get my body all warmed up and stuff, I would rather sit and relax and get my body to come down and then upregulate with something that's not stressful, like just breathing, versus doing anything else. But this is big. This is a lot of stuff, and it's not required by any means. The biggest piece is just understanding what you're getting into. When you're actually doing a testing day, there's nothing else that goes into it. You're hitting that test or that series of tests as hard as you possibly can without worrying about anything else. That's the goal. That's why I personally like to do them on my own. I would rather do them on my own than do them around people, because that allows me the opportunity to just focus on where I'm at, and I don't end up worrying about where other people are or what they're doing, or if they're ready or anything like that. I can just kind of go. Parts that are missing from this, the biggest piece, is that from this, I should have came back up here. I should have taken this stuff and done it at the end to get my body back down so so that I could actually recover from this. This piece was last Wednesday. I didn't feel fully normal until like Saturday afternoon, and it was 4th of July weekend, so I was out at the lake drinking and wakeboarding and things like that. So it's a pretty, when you do it and you do it right, there's actually, you gain understanding of your own systems, but you don't actually gain a lot of adaptation. You're not actually recovering or adapting to the movements or anything like that. So, but all of this stuff we cover. We've been doing breathing clinics and breathing practice stuff in classes, so we cover that. We have a breathing clinic coming up on the 22nd of July. It's just going to be all prac app and where that, and just like the actual mechanical pieces versus physiology and stuff. So that's open to everybody. We're also going to do an athlete camp in October, which is going to cover this. Like, what does this look like? Why do you do this? And talk deeper into that, and then talk deeper into the difference between practice, training, and testing, and how those pieces actually come about inside of an actual training day and stuff. So both of those, will have those links in the description for anybody that wants to sign up or show up. So, but it just gives you an idea of little things, little practice pieces that you can bring forward and take into your own training.